Hey, welcome back to another video, y'all. Thank you guys so much for your support and kind words on the first one. It truly means a lot to me. It's made me even more excited to bring to you a new restyle since today we're doing Miss Justine Dancer. Originally, I was just gonna reroot her and call it a day, but I think I need to go the full mile and give her a complete makeover. I'm talking a new dress, 3D printed accessories, and of course, that new hair. I do like the direction of her design, but alas, she was made in the cheapy days of Ever After High, so I want to give her the quality she deserves. Similar to my Farrah restyle, if you've seen that one over on TikTok, I very much dislike the print on her dress, as it just looks tacky and cheap in my opinion. She needs better fabrics, more layers, and lots of extra magic. So I start by cutting off all that old hair. It was pretty thin anyways, so I definitely want to give her way more hair. I want her to have volume. Now that she's bald, I'll remove her head from her body and scrape out all the leftover hair from inside her head. Then pull it out with my tweezers. Now she's completely hairless. You know, that kind of looks like, and we'll just go ahead and throw that away. And just one more step before we start. Arguably one of the most important, in my opinion. We gotta let the head sit in boiling water to shrink the holes, which will help the hair stay once we reroot it. So for Miss Justine, I've decided to try using curly hair for the first time. I've never worked with pre-curled hair like this before, so I'm eager to try. I've seen so many other collectors use it, and it just looks so pretty, so let's give it a go. This kind of hair isn't pre-cut, so you have to measure and cut each strand, which definitely adds a little time, but it makes the whole thing so much more customizable and produces less waste. At least, that's what I'm hoping. But look at it, it's so fun. I started by figuring out what length I wanted the end result to be, then doubled that measurement and cut a strand. Then I just root it like normal, using the knot method I've become so fond of. For her specifically, I decided to go with around 9 inches of hair when fully stretched out, so then I doubled that and cut about 18 inches per plug. Then I just put on a good movie and got into a routine. This reroot definitely took a while, but I honestly didn't mind having to cut each strand individually. It definitely kept things neater for the most part, though I will say some of the loose hair towards the end kind of got knotted up and all tangled, and so that was not fun having to deal with, and I had to throw a little bit away that unfortunately went to waste. But I know now and will do better next time. Since this was my first time using curly hair, it definitely was kind of hard to gauge how thick I was making the hair, because of course I wanted her to have volume, but I didn't want to make her hair overly thick and be too much. So I just kind of rooted it like I normally would with any other straight hair, and it turned out fine, honestly. I think she kind of ended up with the perfect thickness and volume, so I'm happy about that. Also, I don't think I quite ended up showing it off, but this doll turned out with a really good part line, and I think my best yet. So fortunately for me, she had no splits in her part line or hairline or really anywhere on her head, so that kind of made this whole process easier, and I didn't have to use any glue or anything to secure it on the inside. And once she's fully rooted, she looks like a little puffball. She's so cute. I love this look for her. I'm tempted to get another one to reroot and leave like this, or give her 2 little puffs. Oh, okay, I guess I did show off the part line a little bit. But doesn't it look so nice and sleek? Not to toot my own horn, but I'm very proud of it. I'm gonna figure out how I want to style it off camera so I don't mess it up, and then I'll show y'all. Okay, so what I ended up doing is misting it well and brushing out small sections one at a time. Because of the curly hair's nature, when brushed out, it forms larger sections of curls. So section by section, I did this all around the head. Now I'm going to go in with a little pomade, or a curl cream should work too, and massage a little into the hair to help form and smooth the curls. And this is where I've ended up at the moment. I'll do the final touch-ups with styling later. But I just love the way the curls form. It just looks so pretty. So for her new look, I've sketched up my idea for her, trying to keep the essence of her original one. I really like the fuller silhouette for her, but because of the way her belt is molded, it doesn't allow for much puff at the waist. So I was thinking I could keep the waist slimmer, then add a big ruffle to get the same vibe. I like the idea of bows for her, it's very classic ballerina, but I hate that it's only a print and that they chose this bright hot pink for it. So I want to add some actual bows with this pale pink ribbon, and use this lace trim to give a little more pink to her design. I've decided to keep the bodice the same, but make the sleeves a little more dramatic. So for materials, I've picked out this yellow satin from my stash, which matches her pretty nicely, I think. I also picked out this tulle to add to her ruffle, but I ended up changing it to organza later. And for the top of the bodice and sleeves, I picked out this white mesh material similar to the original one on her dress. When making fitted patterns, I like to use the classic tape method, so I start by wrapping my doll in saran wrap, then tape around the needed areas, and I sketch on the design I want. Then I'll cut those out and transfer them to paper. I add seam allowance and then cut those out, which give me my patterns. To get a sleeve like this, I start with half of a regular fitted sleeve pattern and cut right where the elbow is. Then I'll make little slits from the bottom or top to the elbow, making sure to not cut all the way through. Your pattern should be in 2 separate pieces that look like this. Then I line up what would be the middle of my pattern with the fold of my paper and spread out those cuts I put into it. I do this to the top and bottom using tape to help if needed. Then trace around it, making adjustments if needed, and you'll have your new sleeve shape. To be honest, I wish I made mine a little bit more dramatic, but it still looks cute in the end. Also, I like to label my patterns and put any necessary marks on them before I get started. This piece I cut out earlier was so I could get the correct curve of her waist to make the skirt pattern. I slash and spread it out a bit so I have a little gathering and room on the final piece, then trace around it. And this is the waistline for my pattern. Then I measure how long I want the skirt on my doll and transfer that to the paper. And here's what that looks like. I keep in mind to make the back a little longer as it has more of a curve to go around. And for the ruffle, I cut out this curved shape which will end up a little more than double the width of the skirt. Now that those are done, I'll cut them out of my fabric. Here they are, and now we can get started. Also, you can see I switched to organza instead of using that tulle. I sketched out my sewing lines on the mesh top and will hem the neckline and attach the sleeves. And I'll sew the satin bodice pieces together. Once those are both done, I'll sew up the side seams with the sleeves and attach both bodice pieces together. And this is what that looks like. Again, I kinda wish I gave the sleeves more of a dramatic puff, but they're still really cute. For the skirt, I'm going to hem the ruffle pieces. When sewing a zigzagged hem like this on more delicate fabrics like organza or chiffon, I like to back it with washable interfacing to help make it sturdier. And then once I'm done, I'll just wash it right off. I don't have the fancy machines that Mattel uses to make these kinds of hems, but I just use a zigzag stitch and set the length pretty short to get a similar look. And this is what it looks like right after stitching it. After washing off that stabilizer, I stack the layers and sew 2 gathering stitches right where I want to gather it. Now I'm going to set this aside and focus on the main skirt. First, I'm going to hem it and attach that pink lace trim to the bottom. Once that's done, I mark my sewing line of where I want to put the ruffle. Then I'll sew that on and add a cute little pink ribbon trim right in the middle, and then attach the bodice and skirt together. And this is how it looks, and I'm already so in love with it. I'm almost done. I just need to sew up the back and add the Velcro. And now she's officially wearable. It's just so cute, but one last little detail. I'm gonna add these 2 little pink ribbons to the front, and then it's officially complete. Alright, so for accessories, this is what she comes with, and to be honest, I'm kinda bored. I know she's supposed to have 2 of these bracelets, but I'm really not the biggest fan of it. So instead, I 3D printed her some new ones. so I'll just swap it out. I also 3D printed her some earrings and a ring. I just need to paint them gold to match her look. Previously, I did some customizations on her shoes, her belt, and her headpiece, and I'm still happy with them, so I'm going to leave them the way they are. So I'll just put these aside. And now I'm just painting all of those new accessories gold to match. I did have to layer it up like 3 or 4 coats, so it did take a minute, but they end up looking really pretty. For the earrings, I picked Apple's first chapter ones as I thought the bows on them were perfect. I decided to paint those pink, which you'll see. All of the files for these are from Printessence on Cults 3D, which I will have linked below. Here is how the bracelets and ring turned out. I think they look really pretty and will match her new look perfectly. And I forgot to show off the earrings before I pierced your ears and put them in, so I didn't want to take them back out, but you get a little sneak peek at her with them on. That brings us to the end, so drum roll for her reveal, please. Here she is in all of her brand new glory. I am so beyond pleased with her. I think she turned out even cuter than I imagined. I know I just said this last video for Ginger, but I think she's my favorite restyle now. Sorry, Ginger. I mean, just look at how cute her hair turned out. I love the warmer tones that I added to it. Playing around with these curls was really fun, so I can't wait to do it again. I'm very happy with how the dress turned out. I feel like I could put her next to the first wave of dolls and she'd actually fit in now. I think the pink bows and lace are my favorite part. And of course, the new ring. Printessence has some really pretty original designs, and this was one of them. I love all of their new and recreational things, so I can't wait to print more. Maybe I'm tooting my horn a little too hard, but she's kind of giving prototype stock pictures? I don't know, let me know. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I really hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know if you think this redesign fits her character, or what you might have done differently. And who might you want to see next? I'll see you guys next time. Bye!